Explore your land, explore your sister islands.
MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331.
And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey. No, I won't sing. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on another terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today as we invite you for some open line. Go back to the days of Mr. Dorian Miller at Monday evening sessions, man. They were exciting. Even as young people being able to listen quietly to the radio squawk. 949-8037, 949-6990. And if the toll-free number is available to you, well, use it. 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. And of course, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. A lot is happening in our country. A lot is happening across the region and indeed across the globe. Now, how much of what is happening regionally and internationally do you think impact us? Well, you can share. I'll start by saying that a number of individuals, as groups collectively and as individuals, as members of private sector associations, as business owners and employers, as perhaps managers, supervisors, and the likes, have shared that they're wondering to what extent in the Cayman sort of financial market, why is it that when banks and the other financial service providers, but banks in particular, the commercial class A banks, interest rates go up and down on the international markets. In particular, the press releases from the banks say, well, in accordance with the Federal Reserve, which for many who may not realize it, may assume that federal, and we're talking about the Cayman context, just the way it is sort of structured, they might think, oh, that's a Cayman entity. But when you think about it and listen carefully, oh, they mean the U.S. Fed, which isn't necessarily anything to do with us, other than the connectivity and the inter sort of operational implications, as one fellow tried to word it to me earlier, of how the international financial markets work. But the bottom line being is, why is it that when interest rates go up there, we immediately follow suit? Some would make a justifiable argument as to that's the way it is and should be. Others would say, well, why not? But also, not just the interest rates, but the fact that on a mortgage, again, as the individual shared with me earlier, if in the US, and we're going to follow that market for whatever reason, and they have a mortgage, then a mortgage is for a fixed term at a fixed interest rate or structured unlike what we have here, which is a demand loan. Could be over 15 years or 30 years, but it's a demand loan and it's a variable interest rate. Now you may negotiate a fixed rate for a defined period, but it's a demand loan. Now this individual emphasized you could be making your monthly payments, rarely if ever late, but always making the full payment, never in a shortfall on your payment. And the bank, for whatever reason, may say, we're going to call in your loan. As he understands it, the document, the agreement that you sign, gives the bank that right. Unlike a mortgage where in the US, and he says in other markets, including the UK, that mortgage is for that period of time, and as long as you honor the agreement, then it's for that fixed duration. But ours, we call it a mortgage, but it's no more than a demand loan. Why is it that way? Interest rates aside. Then the other two things he emphasized is the cost to account holders. So as an individual, the banks charge you different fees, accounting fee, management fee, monitoring fee, service charge, fees on the use of your checks or debit cards or the like. But now this accounting fee, and I hope that I understood exactly what he was saying, and that I'm not just drawing inference from discussions of old, where in the past we are told that whether that was the 70s and maybe even into the 80s, but in the 70s, money was brought into the country, it was taken to the bank. The bank would, sort of have staff stay after work, pay them overtime to count the cash that was received. Now, no one wants to suggest that anything illegal or improper was done, and the banks understood that different individuals were moving funds from whatever jurisdiction, bringing it to Cayman, and the banks received it, and they charged a percentage, and then they paid their staff the overtime to count. Maybe a little bonus for doing it efficiently and accurately. But now, if you're a business, we are increasingly informed, and we would like you to ask. Now, we have not reached out to the Bankers Association nor formally to any of the banks, but increasingly a number of businesses and individuals have shared. One, they go to the bank and they say, listen, I would like to withdraw some money from my account. And if it's a sum, now a few have said it doesn't matter the currency. Others have said no, if it's a sum in a currency other than the legal tender, the Cayman Islands dollar, the bank charges a fee for you to withdraw money from your account, and it's a fee. So if you want US or Canadian or some currency other than the CI dollar, now you may want to call us and say no, that's not the case. You may want to call and say, well, we've experienced that, just to see if it's a practice that all experience, or if it's just at some banks, or if it's just some individuals based on the particular transaction. And then the other thing that individuals have also expressed against, the backdrop of the banks fairly much, having a stronghold on the provision of commercial banking services to the local consumers, is that you now, at the end of the business, as you're making your deposits, you go to the bank and you put money into your account. You satisfy all the requirements to ensure that this money is legitimately part of your business operations. No allegations of anything improper. Yeah, you're a normal retailer making your normal deposits, as it were. That the banks then charge a fee to receive that money, to deposit it, to count it, to make sure it's accurate and the like. And for some business owners, that could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month, depending on, I guess, the volume or the percentage. Now, I didn't get into those specifics, but a number of businesses have shared that increasingly they are having to incur an additional expense over and above the cost to operate the accounts. So whatever service charges, whatever charges for the check, the debit cards, whatever, there's now this fee to not only withdraw money, cash, but also to deposit money to the account. And I have not emailed, called, nor asked the Bankers Association nor any specific banks to officially. It's not to be disparaging, not to create an issue, but if it's a practice that we've heard now from a number of businesses, we're just in the second day of the second month of this year, and today being Thursday, I can tell you that it's been already more than 4 individuals for these first 4 days who shared that. 2 of whom are people who are sharing it for the first time. The other 2 have said, this has been a practice for the last few months. One individual many months ago complained about it. Said, man, went to the bank, needed money to do the transaction that we always do. The bank says, that's a foreign currency, so you need to give us notice to get that amount of cash for you. Not a problem. We understand the protocol. We did the required, time the bank had asked for prior to, coming in to get it. Gave them the notice that they asked for, all the things, and then they go in. But by the way, you now have to pay this percentage, 1%, 3%, 5%, whatever the amount is. Are you also aware of that? Are you experiencing that? Do you think that's just another cost of business? Is it justified? Now, you may be a person employed in the financial services sector and fully understand it. You may be a shareholder. You may find, no, that's just another added cost and why things are becoming expensive. As one of the 4 individuals shared, so as a business, at the end of the day, I'm in business to make money. I got to pay the staff, pay my suppliers, pay all the overheads. And if I'm an astute business person, I need to make sure that the time and the money I've invested into this business is profitable. And if it isn't, probably I should be doing something else. Or with less effort, I can probably make the same amount. And I shared this amount of money, that we have to now pay as an added expense, at some point is going to be passed along to the consumer. It's going to result in perhaps lower profits for the investors, perhaps less possibility, if there ever was one, to pay increased salaries or bonuses or something to employees. Certainly, reduces the chance that we'll reduce prices because of increased volumes and increased profits. Well, we now have increased costs. As we come back from this break, there are a couple of messages that come through on WhatsApp. We want to read those and share with you. But we want to ask you, are you considering what are some of these other things that are happening, and what impact, if any, are they having on the added cost of doing business in our country? 949-8037, 949-6990, or 1-800-534-8255. We're going to ask you about the banks and the costs and the deposits and the like, but we can also talk about other things. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions. They say variety is the spice of life, and that's why at Subway we are introducing the new boneless hot sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Apply today to the Walker Scholarship and Legal Training Program. You will join the Walker Scholarship and Legal Training Program, knowing that you will be offered more, both throughout your time in the program and after qualifying as a Cayman Islands attorney at law. Preparing Caymanians for a career of excellence through mentorship, opportunities, repetition, and experience. Be sure to have your application submitted by 28th of February 2023. Visit the careers section at walkersglobal.com to find out more about Walker's Cayman legal scholarships, articles of clerkship, qualifying work experience, and legal internships.
Oi! What's going on? One day only! One day only! This Saturday, February 4th, Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery are having a huge mattress clearance tent sale. Save up to 75% off retail pricing on luxury high-end mattresses. Brands such as Stearns & Foster and Sealy mattresses. Kings and queens available. Cash and carry sale. All mattresses sold as is. No returns or exchanges. Mattresses in the tent clearance sale have been slightly scuffed or marked during transport, but still perfect to sleep on. Don't miss the mattress tent clearance sale. One day only. This Saturday, Saturday, February 4th, with huge savings up to 75% off. Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from February 13th to 18th at his Crew Road Clinic. Clinic appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. 949-8037, 949-6990, or toll free 1-800-534-8255. Okay, as we were going into the break, a couple of WhatsApp messages come through, and you can WhatsApp your thoughts as well. 925-3261, 925-3261. One message simply asks the question, and it sounds simple enough, but let me ask it and see if you can help me to answer it. It says, can you please clarify what is the law, if any, regarding the feeding of wild chickens? Well, simple enough question, I think. And we had a discussion a couple of times now from different individuals, sparked by comments shared by the public, and not just initially as it was seemingly from those in the BRAC and the Sister Islands, but here in Grand Cayman as well. We had a director of the Department of Environment, Ms. Jeannie Ebanks Petrie, on sharing. We've had attorneys at law, James Samuel Jackson, together with Ms. Selena Tibbetts. And as much as some of us understand certain things, I think most of us would say, well, we'll let lawyers argue the interpretation, application of laws before the courts, and the courts adjudicate. As they shared with us, there are certainly some seemingly concerns as to, well, what is really the position as it is. Miss Gina did share, well, nobody's going to be arrested and fined $500,000. Seems like that is a bit of a concern. Well, let's take this call. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Hope you're well.
I am. Thank God, I am. And you as well. I wish and pray the same for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I do want to tell my brackers, keep feeding your yard cats and your yard chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can come into your property and remove them and fine you and charge you. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, just continue feeding those animals. They are not going to be. You're not going to be in any jeopardy of doing that. I can assure you that. And if you are, you call me. I will certainly go after them with a very shiny sword. Anyway, literally speaking, though, of course, I don't own the weapon.
No, figuratively, right? Figuratively speaking.
Figuratively.
Yeah.
Literally, figuratively. That's what I meant
figuratively,
to say.
yeah.
I don't want to come to misuse of drugs. A warrant to come in my house and look for no damn sword. I got nothing of them. Anyways,
right.
I wanted to just raise something that's a concern for brackers up here, and I need them to know this, because if you're not aware of it, you will put yourself out money, and then you're stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to ensure, before you go and buy a container to put things in to ship to Cayman Brac, your own shipping container, you need to make sure that Thompson Shipping inspects it or checks it and sees that the container is
seaworthy?
Well, not necessarily seaworthy. It can be, that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're saying is if the container, if it's the last time the container, if it's expired more than 5 years, I didn't know containers came with expiration dates on them. I mean, unless they got a lot of rust and stuff and they're falling apart, that's understandable. He's not going to accept it. But they need to make sure that before they purchase any container to put things in to ship to the BRAC for themselves as a container, that the shipping company is aware and the shipping company inspects and makes sure or checks on the container. I guess it has that number on the container that you can check if it's still good to use or not, because they're telling you that if you do that and you're buying stuff and stocking it up to put on a boat, and you get them to come pick it up, they're going to deny picking up the container and taking it or accepting it at the port. So people need to be aware of that.
So this, just for clarity, this inspection is done by the shipping company to which you're...
I would imagine that it's them, because they're the ones that are denying accepting the container and saying it's over 5 years old. I guess that's the age you can have a container that's under 5. I'm just wondering if their own containers are under that age, why they're forcing people to use theirs instead of their own if they want to buy it. Maybe there should be someone that can tell you this. And these are the things that happen in this country that people aren't aware of, and they should be made aware of, and there should be someone that does this, that validates these shipping containers for you, especially for inter-island, because, that's how we survive up here. We buy stuff in bulk, put it in a container, and put it on a boat.
Trying to get economies of scale and keep things as cost-effective as possible.
Yeah, we try, and everybody got to get a little piece of the pie, and you got to try to keep the cost down up here as well. So, anyway, I want to thank BRAC Power and Light. Well, they're now Island Energy for a big reduction in my light bill. I guess I did a lot of cost cutting and stopped using my dryer and different things because we got lots of sunshine and breeze up here on the bluff. So my light bill has been reduced about $300. I'm so proud of myself for that.
Good for you. What, if I might, just generally speaking, we understood that there were a lot of power interruptions, recent on the BRAC. Just want to clarify, is that the case? And if it was, is it still the case?
Well, in all fairness, there was a third party engaged in taking down a tree over by the hospital that caused power to be cut as well. And they didn't, get the assistance of the power company to help them with that. And they just went ahead and did it, and of course it caused a power outage and stuff. But they did have a couple of things. I mean, breaker needed to be replaced, and something that someone hit a tree or the tree fell over the line. So it's not let's be fair to the power company up here, and I'm not, and you know me how I am about advocating for electricity. I just want you to know that not always, every time that we have a power outage up here, it has to do with the power company. There's a third-party element involved and stuff like that. But we did have a very heavy surge up here yesterday on the bluff, and I'm very concerned about that because it dipped so low up here on the bluff. I mean, everything in my house went right down, dimmed all my lights.
Can you say that again? How did it go? That sounds good.
It was groaning. It was so bad. It was groaning.
Yeah.
And I messaged the power company and asked them to tell me what it was about. I'm still waiting for them to tell me, what that problem was. But that concerned me. I don't know if it had a low voltage thing come through here or what, but it was not very good. And I recommend, go down to Economy Electronics and get yourself those old appliance things that you plug into the wall and put your appliances into them. It really, really works. They're $35 a piece, but they really work, Sterling. I must say, thank Roger for bringing them in because
that's a green plug.
Surgeon going, it has a green and a red light on it. When those surges going on, your fridges and your stuff, your appliances are being, I should say, protected. And for $35, it's better than $500, $600, or $1,100 to buy a new fridge. Or maybe $2,000 according to what they're going for now. But yeah, I'm just trying to say there's so many ways to cut costs. I'm glad in a sense that I moved home because I've found so much ways to cut costs. It's incredible how you can cut costs up here and still live happy and no traffic, Sterling.
Well, one of my friends said they were there recently and there was 2 cars in front of him. He was complaining about a traffic jam. So.
Well, there you go. You will live long in the BRAC. People need to start looking up to migrate up here and find ways to talk to their bosses about remote working, because if you live up here, your children are going to be happier. You're going to be able to roam without being ran over and out and, enjoy the outdoors and stuff. The only thing I need MRC is up to spray and a little more. That's all I need for them to do, so we can come out like from 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and enjoy outside. But other than that, migrate to the BRAC. The BRAC has the cheapest land, cheapest homes, and you get value for money here right now. And Caymanians need to buy land in the BRAC. If they can get a loan, CIDB has been offering land loans as well, I think, as credit union. Go get yourself a loan, get some land on the bluff. It's only going to appreciate. It's not going to depreciate.
It's not going to rot either, right?
It's not going to rot. And once you have that, your children have some kind of asset in this country for their future, and,
Time to consider it. Well.
Anyway, and you need by peace, too, if you don't have peace. All right, take care.
Thank you, too.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right. Let's quickly pause. I know there's another calls to take. We will do that as we return. Stay tuned.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Talk to Dick. But I do have some questions. Talk to Dick.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk to Dick.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us. 949-8037 or 949-6990. It's open line. Let's take this next call. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very well. How about you?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed.
Amen.
I'm going on.
Another good day.
Yeah, man. Waiting on some rain, but it'll come eventually. It'll come. We don't control nothing like that, so.
Well, the song says you left the rains on Africa, right? So let's see if they come over the bluff.
It'll soon come over the hill, man. Don't worry about that.
There you go.
Yeah, I just sitting there thinking about this situation nowadays. It gone up from the cats to the chickens. I really and truly, Sterling. I mean, some people on this island love to get their little wild fowl and have their little eggs. And it's so sad to know that we have laws passed in the Cayman Islands that are for the foreigners and not for the locals. And when I mean locals, I mean the Brackers and those that came here to live. Because I know a lot of people here, as residents here now, try to get their little fowl because they can't buy the eggs no more from the store because it's so expensive. So they try to keep their little fowl, how their little eggs on the side. And to know that
so they're trying to get this side full?
Let's say, fowl, exactly.
Yeah, what you say.
It's so sad to know that. Yeah, because you're from Wesley, you should know. I mean, and it's so sad to know that we have laws laid down against the people of the country, as such as DOE and the rest of the departments that lays down these rules of fining someone $5,000 and all this kind of rubbish just for feeding a fowl, when we have things in this country that matters, that should be of an importance, and they got, because they can't get no hand and no handle on this situation with the cats, now they got to say, well, all right, if I catch you feeding a fowl, which they know that, they know certain areas here in the Brock, they have wild fowls and people go feed them, because what some people did was they moved the fowls from their property, which they're trying to grow stuff, and they try to, instead of killing the fowl, they took them and put them in a designated area on the island that has no residents at all from to graze and continue living there. And they know this, and they know that because people go and feed them, now they got to lay down laws and rules and regulations about how much they got fined people feeding wild fowls. And Sterling, I was watching one documentary there, or not a documentary, I always watch Discovery Channel there with the cruise ships where they go into these different islands and part of the Caribbean. Dominican Republic, if I know, Puerto Rico. When you go in Puerto Rico, you go to the very western end of Puerto Rico. They have one tourist area there, and they have it quarantined off like a square, and they have cats, feral cats. Boy, that word, I can't wait to rub that in somebody's face. Feral cats and feral chickens, since this is the word that this is the new word for the year, feral. Sterling, those people go there, and the locals give them a certain type of food, and they feed the chickens feral. I need to get that word in my vocabulary. Feral chickens, and they feed the feral cats as a tourist attraction. We here the government wants to go in with DOE and say that they're going to charge local people for feeding wild fowls. Sterling, how stupid can our government get to pass legislation, pass bills of some dramatic foolishness as this, that people, they're not even locals, can come from a country and say, listen, we need to get control on this country. I can understand, Sterling, don't get me wrong, about that, my favorite lady that always called in, Grand Cayman, your little friend that I know her in a while, and I so love to listen to her when she called. I can understand her, like what she always speak about the chickens on the waterfront there with the tourists. Now, that is a different scenario. What I am speaking about is these chickens that cause no harm to nobody on the island. They're out of the way of anybody and out of the way of any distraction from anybody. They're causing no harm. And yet our laws, our government, are going to sit and let DOE pass down laws as such to make our people feel like they can't even come out their house anymore. Because, Sterling, it's coming to that point. We are worse right now, Sterling, and I will tell the whole Cayman Islands, those that are listening, we right now are becoming worse than the country of Cuba. If anybody doubt me, tell them to look and read our laws.
Yeah. So let me ask.
Every time they go to pass a bill against the people, Sterling, it's not to benefit the people.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. Hopefully, people would start and not only ask questions but seek, viable, timely solutions. So, one, what do you think is the impetus? What is driving this? Why are we doing this? What is our objective? I guess a couple of years ago, the word of the day was novel. Now, as you shared, maybe it's feral. Who knows what the next one will be? But why chickens? Why cats? Why do you think it is? What is driving that? What's the impetus?
Sterling, I remember years ago when I used to work around Cayman, numerous amount of places I would work Cayman to make my ends meet and then come back home to go to school. I remember chicken basically, you would have to kick them out the way in order to go through where you're going through. I used to take that shortcut right there by, I can't remember what the place called, I think it's Kirk building there, and go through and you come out by 7-Eleven. I used to have to kick the fowls out of the way in order to get through in the morning, go work at the port, at the cruise ship where I used to work there with the tenders. And starting there wasn't nobody complaining about the fowls then. Kevin Brock here was the same way. People walk around the yard, they have kicked fowls out of the way. There wasn't nobody complaining about no fouls. Now all of a sudden, because they can't win the battle of one stupid thing over a booby, now they got to bring up about, okay, we got charged on them for feeding the fouls, and we catch on them feeding the fouls. So Sterling Wade got stopped next. DOE has formed a legislation in this country to stop Caymanians from feeding. Don't matter whether with the booby egg, the grouper egg, the grouper roe. It doesn't matter what is. But then at the end of the day, they got come and ask me if I can take my spear gun and go dive 60 feet and kill out lionfish for them. So why it is that they got bar down rules and regulations against me as a Caymanian, but then they got seek our help at the end of the day. Sterling, because we can't do nothing. I come to find out in this country we speak, and that's about it. I don't understand why the legislators are not listening to the people in the Cayman Islands crying out for the help, because we can speak, but we need the backing. And if they got formed departments that are coming up with these regulations against us in this country, they need to say, listen, we need to have, you all need to go out and have public meetings regarding these things and these issues and get the public opinion, and then we can probably take it and see what we can do, whether we can implement it or whether we can discard it. But it seems like the government are giving them the go-ahead to do whatever and put in place whatever to stop us from stop us from living, Sterling, the way that we always live, the way that our forefathers lived. We are becoming a country that has lost its sight, and we never get it back until Caymanians take it back. We cannot let foreigners come inside here in these departments and dictate how we supposed to walk and run. We had crawled before we walked, Sterling, but they come here and they want us to start walking before we crawl. That is how they want to treat us. They want to make us feel like they're in control and we must sit down and listen to them. We cannot do that, Sterling. We will become stagnant in our own country whereby we can't even breathe properly because of stress, and knowing that every time we turn around, we got to look and see who's watching our back. We have an issue right now here on Cayman Brac, I'm quite sure here in Grand Cayman as well. We're littering on the roads. Why don't they put regulations against that stricter than this rubbish about this feeding the chickens? When is it going to stop, Sterling? Because I keep saying to my children, the older folks that had the backbone, Sterling, they are buried 6 feet in the ground. When is this generation going to pick up the stance to say, listen, we got enough. You treated my father like this, you treated my mother like this, I going to make sure you don't treat me and my children like this. When is it going to stop, Sterling? When revolution break out in this little country here? Something is going to give, and the government needs to try to listen to the people and have meetings. I reflect right back on the same DOE issue. They have no meetings regarding telling the public what is happening, what are their plans, that the people will have their voice, their opinions. They go and do as they please.
Yeah, man. Well, maybe by being informed, we can be engaged and proactive without, as you shared, having lead to division and discord, But thanks very much, all right?
I thank you too, sir.
All right, talk to you very soon, hopefully. Let's take one more call. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Dwayne.
How are you, sir?
Very good, man.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing, man.
The guest you had last week, I think it was either you or Miss Orsi.
Uh-huh.
And when they spoke about the black, booby, brown birds, I found that the interesting thing that no one's really speaking about is that they did say they would place traps probably like 100 meters from where the boobies are actually nesting. So they found the nesting place. And what they are doing now is attempting to keep any kind of cats that are in that area away from those birds. I don't think they're in a process of trying to eliminate all the cats in the Brac. All right?
Okay. Just around the nesting areas?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I gathered from their conversation.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Thank you.
All right. And I think perhaps part of the challenge, as the caller highlight, maybe a lot of the discussion in the public domain is that we're confused or conflicted by what is shared, whether that's deliberate and part of this side or that side or the next. But then how is it that we can't get timely, accurate information out? Is there an issue of distrust? Maybe we can take one more if possible before the news. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261, and share your thoughts. And we'll see where it takes us. Being informed and engaged is important, and being courageous, having that requisite courage to do the right thing, to stand in the gap, as they say, is absolutely imperative if we're going to have a healthy, thriving democracy. And one of our listeners, shares that we need to appreciate that all living creatures, including the chickens, are God's creatures. Perhaps another shares that in addition to it, maybe we need to look close at the hawks and the rats. Are they creating a problem not just for the boobies and the like, but for others? How do we tend to it? Well, it seems that we are getting caught up in some things that may be distracting. All right, the news, and then thereafter, some more open line. So stay tuned.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Department of Labor and Pensions advises the public that they will close at 3 p.m. on Friday, February 3rd, to facilitate maintenance work at the department. Regular office hours will resume on Monday, February 6th at 9 a.m. In international news, a U.S. high school curriculum on African American history has been revised after conservative critics complained it amounted to woke indoctrination. Florida Republicans argued that a draft version of the new advanced level course lacked educational value. The U.S. College Board released the official syllabus on Wednesday, removing some of the disputed subject matter. The National Black Justice Coalition, a civil rights organization, called the revisions disturbing. Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr. released a chart listing the state's objections to the class, arguing that it violated state law and was filled with critical race theory, a teaching that racism permeates U.S. institutions. The largest ever outbreak of bird flu is spilling over into mammals, including otters and foxes in the UK. Figures released to the BBC show the virus has led to the death of about 208 million birds around the world and at least 200 recorded cases in mammals. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio K-Man on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio K-Man app or log on to our website, radiokman.gov.ky.
Radio K-Man is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born September 25th, 1947, at Watering Place, Cayman Brac, Royce Adolphus Dilbert was the firstborn son to Helen and Grace Dilbert, née Tibbets. Mr. Dilbert was a hard-working man who spent numerous years at sea, as well as employing his diverse skill sets on land. In 1979, he would marry Yvette Jackson and took employment with Cayman Brac Power and Light Company in 1981 as chief engineer, where he remained until his retirement in December of 2018. Heavily influenced by his wife, in 1982 he gave his heart to the Lord and joined her at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he later served as interim pastor in 2002 to 2007, becoming pastor in 2017. Mr. Dilbert was a charter member of the Rotary Club of Cayman Brac, served as PTA president at Creek Primary School, worked with the youth in the community, president of the Veterans and Seamen Society, and was a member of the Development and Control Board Cayman Brac until his passing. Royce was a devoted father to 7 children, loved to fish, and had a passion for cars.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Grand Cayman's biggest one-day family fun day is back! The 54th Annual Agricultural Show at the Stacey Watler Agricultural Pavilion in Lower Valley. Ash Wednesday, February 22nd. Raffle tickets are on sale now, and for only $25, you can win $20,000 and so many other prizes. Raffle tickets include general admission to the show. For more information, visit them on Facebook or CaymanAgriculture.com.
Medical lab services in Cayman. Go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
Medical lab services in Cayman. MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions. Cayman Arts Festival 2023, from New York to London, landing in Cayman. 8 landmark events. Global music on the island's stage. On Saturday, February 4th, 7 p.m. at the Westin Hotel Ballroom. The Cabaret Concert with John Webber, Natalie Douglas, Gabrielle Stravelli, and Pat O'Leary. Tickets are available at www.caymanartsfestival.com. For more information, call 922-5550 or email inquiries@caymanartsfestival.com. The Cabaret Concert, Saturday, February 4th, 7 p.m. at the Westin Hotel Ballroom.
Head east on Cove Road. Sharp left on Church Street. Sharper left. No, your other left. Did I say left? Nope, you missed it. Okay, I'm lost.
With money-saving bundling options for home and motor, we're like a GPS that doesn't steer you wrong. CG Brick K. Good like that.
Let's stop and ask for directions.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us. It is open line 949-8037. 1-800-534-8255. If you can access the Flow toll-free line, hey, go right ahead. Or 949-6990. Of course, WhatsApp 925-3261. Perhaps increasingly, we have, in many instances, more gateways to get to places, but then when we get there, we have more obstructionists, whether it's through inquisitive or inquisitions, or whether it is through just a semblance of delay that we are denied. Well, I say persistence and perseverance indeed can pay great dividends. Now, if we're going to have a democracy, we have to make sure that we are willing to stand up, speak out, and defend. That does not and should not necessarily mean, and if it does, that it should be the first thing or the only thing. That it has to be forceful. Just standing next to someone can give them the added support and nurturing. Think of the child, who has a parent nearby, cheer them on, just showing support. helping them to feel confident. The student, from the teachers right there, not mouthing the words, just there, hey, I got you. And the child draws strength and courage that the child's being supported and nurtured. Well, if we lock arms together and we walk in step, moving towards a shared outcome, a positive outcome, then we can improve a lot. And oftentimes, I think, as members of a society, we gotta appreciate that it's important for the populace to voice its perspective on certain things. Now, granted, doesn't mean that the loudest voice necessarily is the right one. It doesn't mean that just because, as they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, that one should be the one that is given priority. But oftentimes it is. Now, if you look at it from the individual perspective, that happens. If you look at it from the lobbying efforts, the special interests, as they're called, if they are able to influence the agenda, get access to the policymakers, whether that's through advertising, whether that's through persistent sort of promoting and pushing and pressing their position, whether that's through some sort of financial remuneration or the like. Well, how then is it, as often asked, the individual to do likewise? One of our callers have always championed the idea that, wait a minute, in order to have greater bargaining, workers need to come together and form some sort of trade association, some union that may or may not speak to your political, social, or economic ethos. But is it necessary? Well, maybe, but maybe not. So what's the answer? Well, again, being informed and involved. Look again at something that is now on the table. We would invite you to revisit our show from Monday. The director of the Department of Environment, Ms. Gina Ebanks Petrie, her colleague and the manager for sort of legislative reform, Mr. John Bothwell, were our guests, and we were talking about the issue of these regulations as they shared were passed on the 3rd of November by Cabinet. Some of you would recognize that's probably why there's this growing concern that come, tomorrow, the 3rd of February, because as Mr. Bothwell reminded us, the legislation has in its component sort of staggered implementation. So some comes in now, some comes in 6 months as they go on. Whether the intent or this, what I say, there's the spirit of the law, there's the letter of the law, the notion that there are amongst the populace, either from talking to politicians to talking to others who we believe and trust and expect that they would know, they may share a perspective. But again, as a number of individuals have shared, but it's chickens. Surely we can do something about them. I shared it to say that I had a quick exchange with someone during the break. They sent something that I'm trying to read as we're chatting, and this person's comments during the break with what I've read thus far are taken it from two perspectives. If we are a Christian, God-fearing nation, then why are we making such a big deal out of the way we're treating, and in the brackets just before that they put MIS, treating or mistreating the chickens and the cats and the like? Is there a sensible, more humane way to deal with an issue? Is it in fact a major issue? If it's an issue, is it an issue that is of such a priority that it should necessitate $500,000 fine? Is that even the fine? Is it up to? Is it that amount? Is it even a law? And these are seemingly some of the questions that people have simply because they're not sure if that is in fact what it is. Again, as this person writes, perhaps unnecessary confusion about things. Now, the other part of that comment from that person, not only are we a God-fearing nation, how do we treat the chickens and the fowls, the cats, the iguanas, but what if the chickens and the iguanas, for those who eat meat and eggs and the like, what if these were a food source, a provision that we would need at some point, put it in our hands now, long before it becomes dire. The person shared that there are many who eat and have eaten and enjoy the chickens and even the iguanas. For some who would say no, it's not really what they want. They're used to what they don't anymore. They've changed their dietary sort of approach. But again, the person shared as a type, well, what if you could coop these chickens up, have them for the eggs, the meat production and the like. There are poultry farms in the parts, allegedly, and I say allegedly, so that maybe satisfy the sensibilities of the legally minded, that there are either reduced production of chickens and eggs, not just the quantity, but the quality of the chickens and the eggs. Well, the phone lines are open, so let's hear from you. 949-8037, 949-6990, or WhatsApp 925-3261. I appreciate that person quickly going through their comments during the break. I was glad I was able to take it and then send in their supplementary comments to support what they shared. All right, let's go to the phones and take your calls. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How are you?
Very, very thankful. Thank God for health and strength and a sound mind. How are you?
Not too bad. Just starting to listen to you when you are open line today.
Yes, we are enjoying the benefit of our callers. So for the next hour in 15 minutes and 45 seconds.
I wouldn't get that opportunity to get all of that. Sterling, I have a real good concern about our tourism because Sterling, I'm down at our public beach. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you good, yes, thank you.
Yes, I'm down by here right now and I'm walking.
Yeah.
Sterling, at our public beach, you go down there to take your people and you got these people coming out of nowhere, coming to your car to meet these people, to tell them who they must take coming back up and what price they can pay and so forth. They can't even get out of your vehicle when they're coming to your car. And I have spoken to them on numerous occasions, tell them, listen, do not even think about coming here and talk to my people. Just move away for right now. Let the people be. You understand? Tell them who they are. I don't know. They're unpresentable. They ain't got no idea, nothing on them. They're harassing the visitors, left, right, and center. Where is Mr. Brian? I don't know. But something needs to be done now by public beach cutting. This island is becoming what you call a ghetto island. And they got talk about tourism this and tourism that. Well, they better start straightening up because right now it ain't looking good. I think I heard something about it's enough there for everybody to get. Yes, Sterling, but you should know how to get what is yours and how to work to get what is yours and how to be professional and be licensed. You got some license and you got someone licensed. This thing has to be taken across the whole board and everybody's in the same category. No one of us on here is any better than the other person. The only thing that is better about the majority that go to the compound, they have a license to go to the compound, to come down to the Royal Pier or the North Terminal or the South Terminal, whatever the case may be. Selling, I don't know what Mr. Brian plans are for this tourism, but he needs somebody to go down to that 7 mile to find out what is going on there, because more than what will be happening there is happening down there. You got unusual people standing around there just observing and not other people coming harassing the people as they come out of your vehicle. You understand? That is not nice. These people running from that. They sit and hit when they go to places. They're being approached before they can even get out of cars or go to see what the beach look like or what the store looks like.
Wow.
They don't like the harassment. They don't like it. And I just wanted to tell you, Mr. Brian, this afternoon, I spoke to Port Authority in regards to the port. And somebody need to go down there and make sure that port gets cleaned up at the end of the night after those guys get through working down and knowing that it is a cargo and a tourism pick up and drop off dock. And down there is filthy. If I was to take a picture of my car right now, Sterling, you'll ask me, did I go looking clad? And if I went looking clad, my car would be a lot cleaner than what it is right now. You understand? And that's the idea of having to do this kind of cleaning every evening on your vehicles. It's not fair. It's not fair. On Sterling, downtown, when we got these 4 and 5 boats, 6 boats, we got one officer down by the red light. We don't have anybody down by, what's the street called, you know, the one on the street coming on Sheridan Road. There's no officer down there helping the visitors to get crossed. Those visitors would walk across all day and don't stop to let the car through, which I don't blame them. Because we should have someone there to help those visitors, gather up those visitors, let a car or two cross, and then let the visitors cross and go about their business. They are just doing their own thing down there. We need an officer down at the tip of.
Would it be okay if I could ask you, and thanks for sharing that, and as we just take another minute before we go to the other calls, wanted to your perspective, you can think about it now and answer later if you wish. How do you think we're treating our visitors? Is it as kind of warm, welcoming, hospitable, friendly way, or do you think it's just get them in, get them out, make as much as we can, and there's another batch waiting?
It's a mixture.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a mixture.
Okay.
And before this lockdown and everything, we were having some complaints. And now we got some visitors who've been here before that is coming back. And they can feel the pressure that they never had before. You understand? And it's not right for you to be traveling and understand, because you come to relax and enjoy what the island has to offer you, or wherever you may go has to offer you. You understand?
Right.
So I just want to say that Mr. Brian, you look into put authority grounds for these taxi drivers that goes down and get their van full of dirt every day and have to do a heavy cleaner at the end of the day. If you're going to go there to make $100, $200, go home and spend $75 or $200 US get your van clean, what the heck do you have left? And you got to do it again the next day? And you got to do it the next day as long as the ships are in? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, Mr. Brian, I don't know who you are, but the taxi drivers is waiting and loving to have a meeting with you at the compound, because the public beach is out of control and need some assistance down there, need some officers down there. Sheridan Road, there's an officer there as long as all these boats are in, these 4 and 5 and 6 boats. And you know what I want Mr. Brian to tell us? I don't want to hear capacity of these boats. I want to hear what the boat has for the day. Capacity means nothing to us here on island. And people think because when the news say capacity of 4,000 people, that we got 4,000. Oh, the whole island got to do great today. That's a lie. Sterling, it doesn't bother me. I went to work last week in 2 days. I didn't make anything. It was okay. Because Sterling, when you got there to work as a taxi driver, you don't know what you're going up against. You have to go there with a clear mind. And you can't go there with no big appetite and say, this is what I'm going to make. Because those visitors are not guaranteed to be yours. It is their choice if they want to go with you. You understand? So sometimes it's not a win-win. Sometimes it could be a lose-lose. So they're not belong to us unless they want to be with us when they come here. So people sitting down, 4,000 people? Okay, my next animal today. The government might have made money off the 3,000 hit was on there, but I can guarantee you that the whole 3,000 didn't come on land. We need to know how much people come off of that boat on a daily basis. I don't want to hear capacity. The other government can see that's capacity. No, we want to hear 500. We want to hear 2,000. We are sick and tired of being in the dark up here. We are just as much human as whoever's in the government. So don't come out here and paint no picture that everything is beautiful, and it's not beautiful, because the taxi drivers out here is punishing left, right, and center. Well, if I tell them, I say, let me tell you something. You guys need to speak up. But you know what? They're afraid to speak up.
Well, I appreciate you speaking up and publicly inviting the tourism minister to meet with you. So hopefully, that'll soon come.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
all right. Thanks very much. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Thanks for that call. And to others, let's take a few more. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay.
All right. Welcome. How are you? Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you?
Mr. Sterling, how are thou?
Thank God for health and strength, man. I am truly, truly grateful, sir. And you?
And I just the same way like that, enjoying some nice little cool breeze up in the east. But it seemed like the Bible said that the wise came from the east, but I don't think that's true anymore. That changed. Maybe the fools come from the east now. Because I tell you something, Mr. Sterling, I've been watching the traffic system. It ain't getting any better. It's getting worse every day. And I sick of beating the horse about this, but Mr. Sterling, the traffic is bad. I am afraid when I got to drive into town. They are passing you on the left-hand side of the road. Nobody don't overtake you on the left hand. They overtake you on the right. These cars that is passing now, and I'm sorry to say young ladies, I see a lot of young ladies driving very fast as well, and everybody, Mr. Sterling, got an attitude. And I understand why, because Cayman is a hard place now. It's a lot of stress there, Mr. Sterling. It's like that. Everybody is just like on an atomic bomb. You just got to be careful how you speak, approach somebody, look at somebody, because everybody is on a ticking time bomb. Stress, and I see it in the young people. Young people are stressed out. I was talking to some young girls a few days ago in town, and I said, well, you're doing the cooking home. Me? Sorry, I can't cook. When I was growing up, the girls learned to cook just like how the young men learn to cook as well. Plenty of girls are married now and can't cook for their husband. They can't iron, they can't sew. All of that is gone out of the door. And I don't know. I just watch the young people, and I am praying and asking God for something to come true for those people, for the young people, because it is very bad.
Right. Well,
Mr. Sterling, and about the elderly, that's another story. They ain't worried about the elderly at all. Nobody not worried about the elderly anymore. Once you get up in age, they throw you one side, and it's all about me. But Cayman, Mr. Sterling, I'm talking about. Cayman is a hard place. The prices going up every day in the stores and all around. But the increase of wages is not. So how can you expect to survive? You see, in the UK, I was watching the BBC News up to last night. A lot of people, workers, train drivers, bus drivers, going on strike, nurses on strike for more pay, because as the food goes up, utilities goes up. How you gonna get by? And if you staying on one same pay wage, you got to how you pay according to your lifestyle of your living.
Or maybe you need to have your lifestyle according to your pay.
Yeah, we can do that too. But
that might be cut to say according to your cloth, right?
Yeah, but that is true. But what I'm saying too, you got to get enough cloth so you can fit you too. You understand? So if the prices is going up, if the prices is going up $20 and you still on $8, how you gonna survive?
Yeah, well, I can see the argument, but then there's also the knock-on effects of increased costs as a result of increased demands for higher wages that lead to increased costs, which pushes up the demand for higher salaries, right? All right, man.
Mr. Sterling, yesterday I was in a show in a store, an electronics store, and it was a man and his wife from New York. They said they had their phone fixed for roaming, but since they've been here, they can't use it to call back home. And they went in the store to buy a charger, and the person said to him, she asked, how much is it for a charger as well as as a local chip? So the guy said, well, for the chip is $10, but for the charger it's 30 or 35 CI. The woman said, what is that? She said, I could never pay that for just a phone charger. She said, 35 CI dollars for a phone charger. She said, how you people surviving here? How you people living? Is everybody here rich?
But did she say how much a phone charger is for her in New York?
No, she never said, but she said half of the price. No,
So she said. Well, I mean, the only reason I ask is I gather it's expensive no matter where you are.
I don't know what she thought about US or CI money, but she said that is very expensive for a phone charger, And man, people, I don't know what's going to happen, Mr. Sterling, because, like I say, cost of living is going up. People wages is not going up. People wages not going up. Pensioners in one spot, moving. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
It's too much. But anyhow, I just put in my little 1 cent, but I don't know what's going to happen with the traffic system. Don't know.
Yep. That's the age-old question. All right, Mr. George. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I guess, as Mr. George implied, remember you say you put in 2 cents. I guess with inflation now it's just down to 1. All right. We're going to pause and take a break. If you're in the queue, please, we want to join you right after. Stay tuned.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location, ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Let me tell you something. I've been fishing our island since I was a boy, and it's getting harder and harder to get a good catch. Maybe it's because there are so many more people in Cayman than ever before. Maybe it's because of how the climate is changing. I don't know about that, but I do know that I want to be able to keep fishing and teach my children to fish one day as well. So it makes sense to me that we have certain areas and certain times of the year to fish for certain things. It feels unfair not to be allowed to fish where my dad had taught me to fish, but I know that being patient now means we can keep fishing for many more generations. We're all in this together, right?
For more info, download the Cayman DOE app or visit doe.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for sharing with us. And 949-8037, 949-6990. Of course, the WhatsApp. We can take a voice note. We can read what you send to us, but we can't answer that and put you on air. Not yet, anyway. Let's take these calls, though. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm great. Yourself?
I tell you, honest God, I'm very, very thankful.
So do I.
Amen, amen. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that gentleman will talk about the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
The roads, right? Let me bring it to his attention. As long as you're going to have an influx of people coming to Cayman, you're going to always have the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
But that ain't going to change soon.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to change in the near future soon, because there's jobs advertised out there coming from overseas to take up those jobs, and they're going to need transportation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the government has to put something in place in order to curtail that. So what they're doing?
What are they doing?
I want to know. And on another note, for me, I'm a small business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ordered and paid for a beaker from last year, August, for my business. It's not no car or whatever. It's a van for my business to get my materials, my tools and whatever around.
Mm-hmm.
They shipped that vehicle from Japan in October last year. And that vehicle is in Jamaica sitting on till now, and I can't get that vehicle to come to Cayman. I've been to the port and I see all kind of new vehicles coming in here. And as a small business owner,
mm-hmm.
who ordered a vehicle for my business. It's no car. As I said, no car. I don't want no car. It's a business vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's for my survival.
Right. Do you know, have you been given a reason as to why, as you said, if it's that close and it's waiting to be shipped over, why there's been such a delay? You said from November, right?
From that been shipped from I ordered in August and it's been shipped from October.
Right.
And it's in Jamaica sitting right now. Right now, can't come to Cayman. I don't know the reason for that. And I've been out there to the port and I see all kind of new vehicles coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't they give priorities to work vehicles? And I just kind of senior citizen, and I still work to maintain myself. I don't want to be dependent on government for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I need a company vehicle. I paid for it. I went to Mercury Brokers a couple of weeks ago and I asked them, I said, what happened to this vehicle? It's been there sitting in Jamaica for XYZ. Can you guys just please put it as priority to bring it in order for my company so I can get around, take my tools around to complete my job?
Mm-hmm.
They promised, well, we can do it, but there's a backlog from when since. And what about all these rental vehicles that I see coming in? Brand new vehicles. And for a person, a small business owner who's working just on a business and willing to do something, they holding me back. They putting a kink in my sale, man.
Okay.
They should put working vehicles as priority, like how Jamaica got it.
Well, it's certainly, as one message sent says, we're talking about too many cars, but are we willing to consider the question, are there too many people? The cars are not driving themselves, this person writes.
I tell you that, well, that's a different case.
Mm-hmm.
That part got be with immigration, whatever, but
yeah.
you can't stop people from coming in to Cayman to work. As long as they're doing it the legal way, you can't stop them. And when they come here, they're going to need transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best for the government to set up a public transportation where I don't know, this should have happened many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, our road shouldn't be so congested. That should have happened long years ago. But Cayman, the government never had the foresight to do what they had to do. It gone out the door right now.
Well, the longer we wait, the worse it gets, I guess, huh?
Exactly, the worse it gets because the land space has all been bought out. So what else we can do now? Overhead rail.
Yeah. Well, when you inquire with your shipping company again, as you said, they didn't give you a definitive answer. I gather you've been persistent, but maybe ask them, what's the delay? Your vehicle is there, paid for. Oh, why? So when you inquire, maybe before the show ends, in less than an hour, you could probably give us back a shout and let us know, huh?
And doing this is not an old vehicle, it's a 2014 vehicle. You see what I'm telling you?
Mm-hmm.
A 2014 is like 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in little old underfits and come on, man, you need to do better. Why bring those first? Well, they have to bring the small cars because they take up less space in order for the containers to hold.
Yeah. Well, they know where it is. Just now you need to figure out why they need to get it here. So see what they tell you.
All right. I'll go back there and ask them again.
Call them again, ask them, and let us know. All right.
All right, Dane. Thank you. You have a great day, yeah?
I will, man. You too.
All right, my brother.
Blessings, brother. Let's take another one. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's good you got up in line today, so.
Thank you.
Now, I just want to make a couple of comments. They relate mainly to sentencing in Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
On another show, I was talking to somebody about how in fact, more they were talking about the show, and I chimed in on a thought regarding the firearm legislation. You know how it is, like if you possess a firearm illegally, the minimum sentence is 10 years. But if you plead guilty, the minimum sentence is 7 years. But if there are exceptional circumstances, you can get less than 7.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it has turned out is that the ones who get 10 years and 7 years are mainly local people, okay? Caymanians predominantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but when it is somebody like a tourist who's coming in and they're found with a firearm, some of them have gotten away actually without any custodial sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think, in my view, is wrong in principle, in the sense that how can people who commit the same offense, some go to jail for 10 years, others don't go to jail at all? There is a problem there which the government needs to fix. One way to fix it is to say, well, look, exceptional circumstances is to give examples of exceptional circumstances, so that the fact that you are a tourist is not an exceptional circumstance. I think it is also important for either by amendment or by a practice direction relating to sentencing to say, look, it is wrong in principle for somebody not to go to jail at all for an offense which carries those kinds of penalties. The reason I mentioned that, apart from mentioning it for its own sake, is to make the connection with what is going on at the moment regarding the gambling law, the gambling legislation. They want to amend that so that they can make the penalties more stiff and so on. But you see, to me, I think that it's totally wrong. I think the Honorable Makiwa Bush has said something, among other people, has said, look, the way to deal with this thing is to legalize it. And I agree with that. It has got to a point in Cayman, from the little that I know about it, it has got to a point where quite clearly there is no way you can stamp it out. You can regulate it and reduce the level of criminality. You will never eliminate it, but I think it has got to a level where raising penalties is not going to stamp it out. If anything, you will achieve the same result that they've achieved under the firearms law. The ones who will be punished more than anybody else will be the local people rather than the expatriates. But that question, Dwayne, is related to a broader question. You see, there is a problem in Cayman regarding the procedures for complaining against judges. Okay? This is something I've mentioned before. The problem with that is that in 2016, or rather before 2016, if you wanted to complain about judges, and you could complain about sentencing as well, if you wanted to complain, what you did is you went to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, which is a separate body, as you know. And then they had some rules of procedure, where they would weed out the frivolous ones and then make some findings. Somebody in the judiciary didn't like it, so they amended the Constitution in 2016 to say, if you want to complain against a Grand Court judge, you go to the Chief Justice. And at that point, the whole system was killed. Why? Because once they did that, they never published since that time any rules of procedure for complaints, despite the fact that the Constitution gave people a right to complain against judges. It is now 7 years, and they haven't published those complaints. You see, if they had published those complaints, if they could publish those complaints, then you could get certain statistics about people who complained about sentencing and so on and so forth. Then the commission would not, of course, change the sentences, but they will be able to compile statistics to say, hey, these statistics are showing that local people are being over-sentenced while some others are not being sentenced properly. And then they would send those recommendations to the government as well as to the Chief Justice to see if they can move an amendment or just have a practice direction issued. And what I've tried to do regarding this, together with my team in Cayman, I made a Freedom of Information request, and I said, you know what? The judiciary, can you give me how many judges were complained against since 2016? How many were investigated fully? What was the nature of the complaint? What was the result? The judiciary informed me after initially they refused, and I applied for a review. The reviewing officer, who is the court's administrator, on the 5th of December, said, look, they should give you this information because legally, after she obtained external legal advice. Having told me they will give me that, they have now refused. Well, they haven't refused. It has been nearly 9 weeks now, and they have not given me that information. And what I'm understanding now, they are saying, well, we never created the statistics for that information, so how can we give it to you? The Freedom of Information Commissioner cannot order production of a record we haven't created. And I've told them, I said, well, first of all, if you haven't created the record, then you give me the actual complaints and redact them to leave on the information that I need. Put it this way, I decided in the end to appeal the decision because under FOI legislation, if within 30 days they can't give you something, then it is deemed that they have refused. So the Ombudsman is looking at this to see if there can be, this information can be released, because in my view, it will make the judiciary more transparent. Two very brief last points. The reason why they have refused to give me this information ultimately, Dwayne, is because it will reveal that all these years when people have been complaining against judges, the complaints were habitually ignored by the Chief Justice. They were never investigated, no findings were found, and nobody was ever held to account. And they know that if they give me that information, it will show that actually these matters were never investigated. People are suffering in Cayman. There are people who contact me because I'm no longer in practice now, but they contact me informally because I used to be in practice. And I can tell you there are numerous people who have had no recourse whatsoever. Judges have sometimes falsified a complaint, or they have been rude. They've reflected something that never happened, and people have nowhere to go. And I'm hoping that if we can get a favorable result in relation to this matter, that there can be greater accountability in the judiciary. At the moment, the government doesn't even know whether that system is working well, and that they have been praising that since 2016 the judiciary is truly independent. No, in 2016, that's when the government decided to make the judiciary unaccountable. That has to change.
I do recognize what the break. Could I just ask maybe two things from your perspective, with the legal in mind? Ms. Susan's asking me to ask of you. If you have time, hold on. If I can ask you another time, I don't want to belabor it and hold you up.
No, I can hold on, Dwayne.
Okay.
I can hold.
Thank you. Thank you for being so amenable. Well, let's ask that when we return.
What's going on? One day only. 1 day only. This Saturday, February 4th, Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery are having a huge mattress clearance tent sale. Save up to 75% off retail pricing on luxury high-end mattresses. Brands such as Sturz & Foster and Sealy mattresses. Kings and queens available. Cash and carry sale. All mattresses sold as is. No returns or exchanges. Mattresses in the tent clearance sale have been slightly scuffed or marked during transport, but still perfect to sleep on. Don't miss the mattress tent clearance sale. 1 day only. This Saturday, February 4th, with huge savings up to 75% off. Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman,
MedLab. February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us in this open line. And very, very grateful to the caller for just hanging on a second. It's part of what he was sharing sparked a thought. We just want clarity. So thank you so much for being so gracious with your time. In reference to what you were saying, maybe just two things. Start with the last one first. With respect to the judiciary, and as you shared now, how in 2016 it's changed, is that sort of akin to what generally has been, if any else, maybe the concern or the complaint by the populace relative to policing, and why jurisdictions have set up an independent sort of complaints body for the public to complain against the police as opposed to complaining to the people about the people you're complaining to?
Well, the police is also part of this discussion, Dwayne, because part of the problem as well with the police is that the police complaints procedure does not work very well. I mean, there was a lady who was on another show basically saying very, very clearly that there was a complaint filed by a member of the public who was a member of her family. The one who was speaking to the show was not the actual complainant, but was a member of the family of the person who was complaining. It was a complaint about sexual harassment, and according to what she said, well, there was an investigation carried out in the police, an internal investigation, and they found out that this actual harassment, a form of harassment, did take place. But then they did not want to share that the result with the complainant. They said, "Well, yes, we found that there was substance in your complaint. In other words, yes, you were harassed, but we won't tell you what our actual findings were." Okay, and you see the problem of Brain. Why do I want to go to a public authority to ask for a remedy so that I can get relief or remedy for whatever it is that I have been offended about? And then they tell me, yes, we have found there's merit, but we won't tell you exactly what our findings were. Is that what the courts do? Do they tell you, okay, you've won or you lost the case, but we won't tell you the exact reason why?
Yeah.
No. Part of the reason for that is because in the police they are policing themselves. You know, this police service commission, which was established under the Constitution in 1960, it came in 2020. That one is merely intended to make recommendations to the governor regarding appointment of officials. It doesn't deal with complaints. However, they did establish a police complaints body, and the ombudsman is also involved in there. But I just find that system has not been very, very effective because internally they are like supervising themselves.
Yeah.
You remember some time back there was a police officer who assaulted another police officer. The other police officer was not dismissed; they just transferred them to the BRAC. There is a problem of accountability there too.
Yeah, but thank you for that too. I was just speaking generally to what we understand, maybe the practice in other jurisdictions, so that you're not complaining to the to the people about the people you're complaining to.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a specific answer in Cayman itself. I was involved in the writing of the public service management law. Okay, and under that law, if you have a decision which is made within your ministry and you don't like what your chief officer has decided, you do not appeal to the deputy governor. You do not appeal to the deputy governor. You appeal, as you know, to the Civil Service Appeals Commission, which is a separate body. Why do they do it that way? Because they know that if you take it to the deputy governor, as much as we are not calling his integrity into question, he is more likely to support the chief officer.
Well, what does it say? A judge can't be a man can't be a judge in his own cause, right?
Exactly. You cannot be a judge in your own cause. That is why it was written in such a way that it goes to a different body. That is why even before 2016, it was a very good provision in the Constitution which said that if you want to complain against a judge, you go to the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. Okay? And that is the way it's supposed to be in the way it is actually in a lot of other countries. In the UK right now, for example, you asked about comparisons. In the UK, they have, I forget the actual name of it. They've got like an ombudsman for the judiciary, and you can complain to that and then appeal to another body. Now, ultimately, they make recommendations to the Lord Chancellor, who is the Chief Justice, effectively, like the head of the judiciary. It's more than just the Chief Justice. But you see, at least you get a different body to decide on the matter and then make recommendations as to what things have to be changed. So other jurisdictions don't do it the way we have done it in the Cayman Islands regarding complaints, at least in relation to the judiciary. It is correctly done in relation to the government, and it was correctly done in relation to the judiciary pre-2016. This really has to be changed because government has to know whether the system it has put in place for complaining against judges, which is actually enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution says that people have got a right to complain and that the Judicial and Legal Services Commission should set out the rules which they haven't set out and so on. So it's a right people have. And the government can't know if its constituents are being properly treated if the whole system is okay.
Right. So the other thing, thank you again for your time, right? And there are President, no other call, but just a quick little last comment relative to your statement. Okay. You referenced gambling, and then you talked about the ganja, and then legalizing versus decriminalizing. We want, as we understand it, to potentially move to not just increasing the penalties, the sanctions, the fines for gambling, but to legalize it. But we want to decriminalize ganja, just maybe only for my personal benefit. But if we were to decriminalize ganja, why can't we decriminalize gambling? If we can legalize gambling, can we also legalize ganja? I mean, just generally speaking, I know it's a wide open can, but...
Well, very quickly, in my view, there's of course this issue that you're decriminalizing. Decriminalizing means that you are still arrested and you are still prosecuted and convicted, but no conviction is recorded, and so that's decriminalizing. Legalizing just means that you won't get arrested.
There's no offense.
I think, so it's no offense. See, I think that both in relation to ganja as well as in relation to gambling, it should be legalized and just regulated. It doesn't make sense, you see, to tell people that, well, you know what, it's illegal to import ganja, it is illegal for you to grow ganja, but if we catch you and you've done it illegally, then we won't send you to jail. No. At the end of the day, legalize these things. People are doing it anyway. At the end of the day, you are just... and by the way, Alden McLaughlin, by the way, congratulations to him for receiving the award. He was saying, why don't you just legalize it? And that's I agree with him.
Yeah.
Both of them should be legalized.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I've asked that question just so that I understand it and recognizing that many of us did not until recently understand or realize that there was a difference between decriminalizing and legalizing. Now, some have shared with us publicly that, well, we got to make incremental steps. You know, we got to... That's too bold a move. We can't move it from illegal to legal. We got to do that interim step of decriminalize. I'm not sure that I understand that. And like you, I'm swayed by Sir Alden's comments. He's a legal luminary, and he says, we can do that. So, but the other thing though, with both of those, ganja and gambling, have we done sufficient research and education to understand the societal implications, the economic costs? Presumably, gambling is addictive. Presumably, the lower sort of economic income brackets may be the ones who may be hit the hardest. So sort of a regressive tax. There are challenges of, or allegations of gambling and organized crime, all sorts of things happening. So are we doing enough to inform and educate ourselves and the public of what the consequences may be if they are, legalized or regulated differently. I'm just a question,
Well, what you are saying now, Dwayne, is something that must be done with every piece of legislation. There's what they call, it's not done regularly in Cayman, but it is done regularly in the UK. It's called regulatory impact assessment. In respect of environment, for example, they talk about the environmental impact assessment, but with relation to every piece of legislation, you have a regulatory impact assessment. Basically, it says what are the pros and cons of implementing this. And I think that needs to be done both in relation to ganja and in relation to gambling. I know a little bit about the ganja because I helped to write the criminal records. I forget the name of it, or why I wrote it. The one about expunging criminal records. Okay, I learned during that there were young people, Kenyans, who at 16, 17 years old were convicted of ganja, and then they couldn't travel to the United States for the rest of their life or to go to college. And I remember then Sir Alden saying that, look, we have to deal with this. So what they did in that piece of legislation, which is 2016. They said, well, look, if you were sentenced and you were not trafficking and your fine was not more than something like $2,500, then you could apply for expungement of that record. So that we have already done a little bit of an incremental thing. I think what we need to do now from 2016 is to move forward to be able to just legalize it. What people have to realize is that a lot of these things, there are always pros and cons. But when you reach a point where you are doing more harm than good, then you should come in and you just regulate it. You say, okay, with ganja, you can't smoke if you are under 18 because, your brain is still developing, or you can't do this, you can't do that, and so on. And then you move on like that. In the Netherlands, you will be aware, they criminalized ganja a long time ago because they said, look, it's not even addictive. They criminalized it way, way back. And they even decriminalized prostitution. In South Africa today, they are saying that they want to legalize prostitution because that's the only way they can control the spread of HIV. The unemployment rate amongst a certain age groups is like 50% are unemployed. So they have reached a point where they feel they are doing more harm than good. And I think that kind of study needs to be done in Cayman. I think we've already got there, but I think it's good to have the actual statistics.
Right. Well, I appreciate you sharing all this, man. Have a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy the warmth of your climb.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. All right, let's pause. When we come back, a couple more things to share from the WhatsApp. Stay tuned.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. In the forecast tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid-70s Fahrenheit. Winds will be easterly at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. In international news, the U.S. has secured access to 4 additional military bases in the Philippines, a key bit of real estate which would offer a front seat to monitor the Chinese in the South China Sea and around Taiwan. With the deal, Washington has stitched the gap in the arc of U.S. alliances, stretching from South Korea and Japan in the north to Australia in the south. The missing link had been the Philippines, which borders 2 of the biggest potential flashpoints, Taiwan and the South China Sea. A convicted Italian mafia killer on the run since 2006 has been caught in France, having hidden in plain sight as a pizza chef for at least 3 years. Edgardo Greco's capture in Saint-Étienne is the second high-profile mafia arrest by Italian authorities in a matter of weeks. Matteo Messina Denaro had been on the run for 30 years when he was detained on a visit to a clinic in Sicily. Both men were wanted for carrying out grisly murders in the 1990s. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
between the traffic, the meetings, kids' activities, there just isn't enough time. Best Health Pharmacy was a game changer. Not only are they centrally located on Eastern Avenue, but they deliver prescriptions for free anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. I could not believe it. When my prescription ran out, they ran it back to me. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Eddie's Decor, offering free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358. Best Health Pharmacy. Your health, your convenience is their priority.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. It is open line. Wow, it's a Thursday. Can you believe it? February the 2nd, 2023. Huh. I bet you many of us were remembering when it was going to be in the year 2000 and we were going to have to start writing our checks. That was 23 years in. Wow. Well, 949-8037, 949-6990, WhatsApp 925-3261. Here are a couple of suggestions from our WhatsApp that we want to share. They did come in a little while back, and with great respect to the senders, we were taking the calls. We didn't forget you, so let's read them. Says we have enough prisoners, and I read this one verbatim, serving for ganja, not a hardcore crime. Put them on vacant government land to farm the chicken and the eggs, since the price of eggs has gone sky high, skyrocket, as many of us cannot pay the increased price of eggs. That is from one of our listeners. Another message. Again, we'll try to read it. This is from another listener. Again, came in a while back. Says, good afternoon. Here is another suggestion for the wild chicken issue. The government has property. Why not create large chicken cages, feed them and collect the eggs and sell them for minimal cost to the people either via the stores or the farmers market? It can be a source of employment for Caymanians willing to work caring for the chickens and packaging the eggs. I read those two as they were sent. They reflect similar comments from many who said, and as I shared earlier, one who said, listen, what if, just what if, and I won't try to quote it verbatim, so I'll just repeat it and, as I recall it. What if the chickens and the iguanas were a provision? Because times are coming when you might need that protein or that food source for those who eat those items, whether the meat from the iguanas, the chicken, and or the eggs, and you didn't realize it. Now, I'm not going to say that is or isn't the case, but just someone who shared, what if you given a resource or provision long before you read it, they didn't understand the dire need for it. But like those two other sentiments, and they reflect similar sentiments that we've read over the last few weeks, different individuals weighing in, well, could we use either, our prisoners as part of the work release rehabilitative effort, unemployed or underemployed people, or just those who have an interest in it? We have vacant lands, vacant government-owned lands, maybe, as some have shared, they're undeveloped lands owned by private individuals, and there could be some sort of agreement to use those lands. Create a chicken farm for the meat, for the eggs. Whether you think they are good suggestions or not, some think they're excellent, some may say, well, no. Again, where is the willingness to sit down and have a discussion? A sensible, reasonable, rational, civil discussion about an issue, understanding what, as one of my friends have rated, what is our objective? Why are we doing the thing we're doing? What is it that we want to achieve? And how is the best way to go about achieving that? This is the outcome that we want. What are we doing it? Now, in that vein, can I perhaps reference a few things? To the individual, I see 1, 2, 3, 5 messages that you sent over the last bit. It's not being ignored, and as I did say, just wanted to see if others would come in with the person's permission. I reached out to a few others and say, listen, we've got one individual who messaged about this. I know you have a perspective on this. Could you ask your people and see if we can get some semblance of some feedback? It's not a scientific survey or the like. This individual has shared that as a strong proponent of the one man, and the third of the 5 messages corrected to one person, one person, one vote, believed that was the very best thing because it created a greater sense of fairness. So every voter had the same vote. You didn't have voters in one area with 4 or 6 or 2, and then others in other areas, in particular North Side and East End at the time, having 1. So everybody now has 1. This person has shared, well, the Cayman political sort of landscape is different, and under the guise that you can't serve man and mammon, you can't serve 2 masters, it would be better that those elected to cabinet, those appointed to cabinet, would be responsible for their respective ministries and not necessarily have to worry about serving what could at times be competing interests of its constituency and the national agenda. So under the guise of serving only one master. But secondly, that individual also said, well, think about it. The people who are appointed and elected and get into cabinet, doesn't matter which electoral district or which political constituency that person is elected, that person's views impact the entire country. So the question is, should the country be able to vote for that person? You have someone who, and I wanted to go back to one of the messages, but I can't find it because I like the way it was written. It alluded to the fact that it was seen that sometimes not only at the start of a new administration, but sometimes even within, if I recall correctly, sometimes there's a name change in the respective ministries to sort of tailor and to shift around the personnel and potentially create some accounting challenges for the ministry relative to its financial statements. So instead of having that change, we create ministries and they stay fixed. This is the ministry of this, this, and this, and that's the ministry of that no matter what. And it stays that way. It doesn't change, from one administration to the next as the political cycle unfolds. So having the ministries named and retained consistently throughout successive governments. But the person also said, not only do you do that, but then you create elections for those ministries. So a person is interest is in finance, has the ability or demonstrates, then the person goes and campaigns nationally and is being elected for this minister responsible for whatever this ministry is, education, health, and the like. And likewise for the premier. Now, we wanted to broach that not only because of these 5 messages, but others who've now come back and said, well, it's an issue that's worth discussing. I know that irks some, that creates, for some, you being political. Well, I'm not quite sure if it's being political, being civically engaged, but if you are not responsive to the requests, interests, and the like of some, who may genuinely, and you may be inadvertently naive to their objectives, back in water form, but so be it. People will want their voice, their sentiments echoed. So let's see if we can do that. So what is your thought? I mean, is there a better system than we have now? Is there the idea that this national vote or something else would be a better system? Do we return to the whole issue of what we had before? Who knows? Or is there something else? Again, you weigh in and be a part of it. Well, 949-8837, 949-6990, 949-6990, or 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. One of our listeners references that I went to one of the supermarkets just a few minutes ago, just for a few items for doing some baking, and decided they would get a small bag of the hero cream to make some ice cream. And that item cost them, almost $6. Now, we can appreciate that there are increased costs, but as many are sharing, we're seeing the costs are going up. I don't think that this, like any other individual, is suggesting that the prices are what they are, other than the cost to acquire those items from the vendors overseas, and the cost to ship it and package it and the like. But costs are increasing. Let's go to this call. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
How you doing?
Oh, thank God I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, cool. So I have to make off the radio.
Okay. I like the way you say, we're not going to turn it off, we're going to cut it off. All right. So, thank you, sir. And when you're ready, you just rejoin us.
I think this is what I'm going to say to you. As a boy, I used to fish down on the, what do we call it, iron shore. You know, some people call it shoreline or rocks or what. But when I said to you I was on the iron shore, you know what? People believe it was. Anyway, this particular morning, I went down there and I saw a group of people gathered around. We used to call inlets there a cove. And there was a catboat in there, and I saw some people getting into a catboat. Then they left and went out to a vessel that was anchored off a distance. And they came back, and then 4 men got in that boat and went off. So I'd never seen it before, and I didn't know what that was all about. So when I went home, I asked my mama, what's the matter? I saw some people, and I told her what I just said to you. A bit while she said, oh, I think I probably know. She said, the doctor here a lot of times will send patients to the doctor in Havana, Cuba. So the journey was, they got on a vessel there. It was a sailing vessel. And they go to Isle of Pines, Cuba. They spend the night there if they needed 2 nights, but let's say they spent a night there and recuperated off of that trip. And the next morning they would get on a ferry going to Barbanoo, Cuba. They get out there, catch a bus, go to Havana, Cuba. And that's where they'll see the doctor.
Yeah.
She said she had a friend that made that journey. I told her that the doctor in Havana told her he didn't feel like even charging her, knowing that she had to take such a journey to get to him. Anyway, then I used to charge him very much. Nobody back then had that much money. But he saw them and treated them, and they took the return journey then. Go to Barbanoo and bus, and then Barbanoo to Isle of Pines, on the ferry, and back home. And apparently the vessel that did that sort of exclusively was named Gravina, but I never saw that name, but I'm looking it up. Hopefully, forget it. I'll give that to you, and I'll complete that little story.
Right.
But I'm glad, I'm happy to say that I feel good that our government is treating the Cubans like they should. Of course, there's a law that takes care of them, but apparently there hasn't been too much problems with trying to take care of these Cuban people. If they say they got to be sent back, well, they send them back. Okay, my brother, you take care and God bless.
Amen. Thank God. Thank you. God bless. Thank you very much, sir. And, as we listen to the caller, and I like the fact that he, said it Barbanoo and realized that in Cuba, Barbanoo, Cuba, I'd say that to emphasize 2 things. One, it's not, Batabanu, it's Barbanoo. Good way to say Barbanoo. And emphasizing that to recognize the importance, as he shared, that we not only our brothers keep and be good one onto the other, but to see that our connection span across the region into the U.S. and then a far afield. But secondly, the importance of knowing who we are, where we come, our interactions and associations, and respecting who we are, and ensure that the names of places are not only retain but reflect the local parlance. And that's important, because if you start to change without understanding the change. Now I say that, and there's a fine gentleman, and from time to time he would call. Once in a while I'll get a chance to chat with him, and I only now realize that to my sort of loss is the only way I can see it. I didn't sit with him and not only fail to write down some of the things he said, but to record it. He had said sometimes, if you ever want to, you could, and I didn't. And maybe we should do more of that. He would talk about the names of places. We know that Captain Paul had done that previously with us on air, as guests in the studio, but as a phone call. This place in Georgetown, this place here, this is the name that we knew it by, now it's something else. Well, the phone lines are open. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp. Now, that WhatsApp is either a call or a voice note, or you type something by the text to speech, and we'll read it for you, play it. We can't answer the call. That's 925-3261. All right, the final break, I'm told. Stay tuned.
Valentine's Day is around the corner. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here. Valentine's Day cards, gifts, and more. Don't break the bank to show your love this Valentine's Day. Whether you're shopping early or scrambling last minute, Valentine's Day made easy at Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
February is here. Don't let the motivation fade. The MedLab team would like to encourage you to stick with your 2023 resolutions.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us. And with a few minutes remaining, we want to make sure that we give you as much opportunity as possible to share your thoughts as we go to the phones. Yes, sir.
They went there looking employment.
Uh-huh.
Those four men came here from Jamaica, and then they got on the boat and went to the Isle of Pines seeking employment, and they readily was employed because in Isle of Pines they grew a lot of, well, all stuff. It's a great fertile place. So they readily got employment, and they stayed there, and now they're drifted back. They came back here, integrated in the community, and a lot of their a lot of their offspring, let me put it that way, got to work with public works or heavy equipment. So the list started in Jamaica, came here, Isle of Pines, and back here, and then back here, and then they integrated here, and I think everybody's going to enjoy each other.
Mm-hmm. Living together, right? Working together, respecting one another.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that I wanted to mention that because that's that connection with Jamaica came on Isle of Pines, and Isle of Pines back to Cayman, and you know, even at your age, you would know someone.
Mm-hmm.
One was the pastor of Agape Church. His father was a pastor when he died, and then his son. There was a man who had a little store in West Indian, Adolphus. I guess it was Adolphus, but all I ever knew him by Adolphus. There was one named Edward Sraby, and I remember him doing a lot of grafting and citrus trees and stuff. So they all fitted in, and they did well, and they're still doing good. I hope God continue to bless them, and I trust that God will help the government to be able to continue to treat these Cubans that are running away from hard times. That maybe the government, maybe the Cuban government, the United States government might eventually lift that ban, and everybody would be living more happy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, God bless. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. God bless. All right. As we look sort of down the road, for some of us it's to the end of the week. Some of us it's, well, let's see if we can make it through this first quarter. Some would say, well, you know what, I'm thinking further afield. I'll try to make it to the end of them year. But the question, as I listen to the caller, has been asked by many, do we have a national vision, not just a national development plan? Do we have a strategy for what is it that we're trying to achieve? How do we lead by example? How do we make our efforts that they're beneficial now, but they're also meaningful in the long term? Some have asked the question, do we as a country, do we as leadership, do we have a national vision? Is that being clearly conveyed to the populace? Is there buy-in? If it is there an understanding through education and awareness as to what it is? I say that to ask when just recently, as a number of students were getting ready to, I should say university students, getting ready to return after the Christmas, some going to face exams, so their Christmas was spent studying. Some are continuing, the semester with just a little interlude for the holidays. For some, they're starting fresh, new subjects. But as students who hopefully would return, with their newfound knowledge to the Cayman Islands and be gainfully employed, some have shared, well, is this really worth it? And sadly, some are being encouraged to don't bother with it. It's not worth the expense. Come back and work, enjoy life now. Hopefully, that's not something that is being promoted too heavily, and especially in our secondary schools, because the more of us who gain knowledge, come to an understanding, who think and ask questions independently, come to conclusions, but are willing to work collectively, we can see a better future, one that is political and economically stable but socially harmonious. I share that to ask, as I listen to some of these students who are saying we're seeing increasing challenges. For many, well, the answer is let's have more development so there can be more funds for the government to pay for the increasing demands on government. But as one individual said, now she shared her area of interest is this. Hopefully she'll get there at some point. But she shared, if you take a property and you develop it in this way, 10, 20, 50 years from now, will that property then be redeveloped? What will be the cost? Is it necessary to do that now when perhaps the benefit now is only minimal when the cost could be exorbitant? Now these are students, some of whom going off to university for the first times, some of whom are going into their final year, some are expecting to go off in a few years, but they're thinking, they're being engaged, they're being encouraged. All right, 1-800-534-8255, as we invite you to make a note of that number. Also 949-6990, 949-8037, and then of course WhatsApp 925-3261. Tomorrow, being Friday, I ask you to join Mr. Corner as he comes in, and there's a phenomenal job with the morning show on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's for the record. And then come back for our talk today. We're going to have a discussion with the folks from the ESO. And then at 1 p.m., Mario Ebanks and Entourage will come into the studio and regale us with some music. I think Mario's going to sing along, but he's bringing his brother John Wesley and his cousin. So we're going to have that. Now, Susan, what do you think we should do? She said, about what? She says, what? Let's do what the people want. Well, I want to say again a special thanks to the entire team here, and to those of you who were enjoying the extended music yesterday. As I had to take the day off to attend to other matters. That was yesterday. So God's willing, like today, I'll be here tomorrow. Genuinely enjoy here. I hope I'm able to facilitate our discussion. Hopefully show the great deference and respect and appreciation and honor and privilege to sit here and at the end of the day to not only learn through our interactions and engagement, but to come to appreciate even more this beautiful place that we call home. And if we've been here for generations, or if we've only been here for a short time, if she doesn't mind, a good friend has allowed me to see Cayman through her lens and to appreciate that we have an amazing place. The more of us that work together, from keeping it clean, putting our garbage properly disposed of in its proper place, to being careful, cautious and considerate when we're moving about our roads. Even as a pedestrian, how many of us will just walk across the road and don't even pay attention to the cars, putting ourselves and others at risk? Or we're driving inattentively, perhaps the police would even say recklessly, to those who may do other things. So a little consideration, a little respect and appreciation can go a long way. All right, my friends, God's willing, join the start tomorrow morning. Come back for Talk Today. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Six years.
3 beloved isles. 1 beloved station. Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul.